We're live from New York. Oh, wait, sorry, that's a different show. Look, hey, I want to welcome everybody to the inaugural episode of What Makes You Tick. And when you read it, sometimes you might think, what makes you tick-tock? Well, we can put that in there too if we want to. Look, I'm really excited to be here. Before we dive in, there's a few housekeeping notes that I want to make sure that everybody has a great experience. First of all, this is an interactive live session. You're encouraged to participate, ask questions, and connect any way you can. To ask a question, drop it in the chat. We'll bring key insights into our conversation as we move along. And again, this is the first one we've done, so we'll see how it goes. But I love ad-libbing. We'll use LinkedIn DMs and the comment section for the event posting, for any behind the scenes coordination. So feel free to message if you have any tech issues or questions. And honestly, if I miss it the first time, I'll go back and make it the next one. We'll make sure we get it. If you get disconnected, real simple, just rejoin. LinkedIn will occasionally do that for you. And we know that many of you are listening. We hope many of you are listening while you're commuting or working. So look, engage however you can. Even quiet listeners are an important part of this community. So first of all, I wanted to thank you again for being here. And now let's get started. It's an amazing opportunity here for my inaugural guest, a woman I connected with on our first meeting. We had an immediate connection. I admire what she has done and what she is doing. She is a career, leadership, and empowerment coach and the founder of Discover You, and that's you, like with a U, where she helps women, youth, and leaders lead with purpose, confidence, and clarity. With a background in counseling and over a decade of experience in education, I can relate to that, workforce development, and personal growth, she is known for creating powerful spaces where transformation begins from within. Through her work at Discover You, she equips individuals to align their values, their own voice, and to take bold strategic actions in their careers and their lives. Whether guiding young adults through career decisions or supporting women stepping into leadership, she empowers people to rise to their full potential. I want to welcome Sonia Cacique.
Yes. Hi, Bryan.
Hi. I'm excited. My hands are going. This is my Louisiana person going all crazy. Look, we've talked many times. I love your mission. I'd love you to share with our audience the mission.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's pretty simple. I think that when women, young people, and even entrepreneurs who I work with now, discover who they truly are, then everything starts shifting. They begin to lead themselves and others with clarity, purpose, and lasting impact. So what I envision is that everyone starts giving themselves a permission slip to dream bigger, achieve greater, while living meaningful, purpose-driven lives.
No, absolutely. And the part that we connect on is the purpose. With your education background, one of the things that I truly believe in is that there needs to be, of course, trust and clarity and traction within everything we do, but there needs to be a purpose that drives that. Otherwise, what is our connection? And you and I connected immediately through purpose and through why.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting because the first thing we are asked when we are in school is, what do you want to be when you grow up? Wow, what a big question, right? Why don't we start asking students or entrepreneurs or young people or women, what are you good at? What do you love? What do you enjoy? What do you envision yourself, right? We could really start discovering a lot of things of ourselves, and when people start saying, wow, you're so curious, you're so, bold, you're very creative, right? These words that can really start opening opportunities. So that's where I realized that purpose was something that was very important. And actually, I owe it to my father. So my father always told me to live with purpose, to love what I do. And, he just had that vision for me. Unfortunately, him being first in his family to come to the United States, me being the first gen to actually go to high school and college, I didn't know how to find a career with purpose and all of the things that I teach nowadays. But there is a way for us to start exploring oneself early on. And you know what? And even if you are 30 or 20 or 40, there's still time to discover your purpose, your skills, and your talents.
God, I so believe that we're on the same page with that. One of the missions that I have written down and I have planned out how I'm going to do it, I have no idea, is to be able to impact that into education. Because a lot of those words that you just said, the kids look at you and go, huh? What does that mean, coach? Well, nobody teaches them how to help them understand what that means and then be able to connect it as they grow. And I know you're working in that, and I love to see that. Within all of that, though, there's got to be some kind of trust and clarity within the message. And for me, it's been a big foundation within my life. And I didn't really know that until a couple of years ago. I felt it, but I couldn't verbalize that. Mm-hmm. What about you? Is there anything that really sticks out as far as trust and clarity and how it applies to your life and your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this has been a long journey. To take you a little bit back in time, again, I've mentioned I'm a first gen and to actually even step into college. So at that point, my goal was just to get a certification, right? That my career was going to be a certification, a job, a good paying job. And I joined the pharmacy tech program at San Jacinto College. And that's what I wanted to do. That's what I want to be. So I became a pharmacy tech. I was working at a pharmacy when one of the pharmacists, Crystal Blanc, I'll never forget her. In conversation, she asked me what I'm going to do, right, as a career. And I'm like, I'm living it. I'm going to be a pharmacy tech for the rest of my life. And, and that could be someone's ultimate career plan. That was for me at that point. But it wasn't until her that she had this trust in me that started allowing me to bring some clarity into my future and think, there could be more than this, right? Why could I not continue going on to school? And I remember her saying, and I married my husband young. We've actually been married 24 years now. So I married him very
awesome.
young. And
I
remember, telling her, I was like, I'm married, I have a good job. And, she said, well, you don't have any children and you're young. Why not? Why not go back and work on your bachelor's degree? So it was just through her, that one conversation that really impacted me. I went back to school and now even hold a master's degree. Again, this is a girl, young Hispanic girl who is only looking to get a certification. I have a technical career, and now my career has blossomed into many different phases and opportunities, and it was thanks to her. The second time that, honestly, I shouldn't say the second. There's been so many opportunities of clarity. But the next pivotal moment in my life was when I was, again, a pharmacy tech, and I finished my degree. So I finished my degree. I was working at Methodist Hospital. And after finishing my degree, they offered me the opportunity to become a pharmacy trainer. And at this role, I would be basically any new hires for the pharmacy department at Methodist Hospital. I would be training everyone, not just technicians, pharmacists, clinical specialists. I would be going through the whole training as far as IV solutions and IV admixturing and sterile processing, their job, their skills. And that's when I realized, I might have something going on here that I can do more than what I had even initially thought of. A little bit of imposter syndrome, of course, right. That never fails, no matter how old you are. How am I going to be training, right, pharmacy techs and other pharmacists? But again, it's through that trust of someone else believing in me. And still to this day, I still love having that person in my life, more than one, who dreams bigger for me and trusts me in continuing to advancing in my career. So it all started with that, but there's been a lot of pivotal moments where, I've had to borrow belief in others and belief in me.
So I love that story, and we've talked about that before, but the one thing that sticks out is you chose to trust that person.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Why would you because you think about today, like for me, I wanted to be a baseball player. And it didn't matter what anybody did. I chased down, I played college baseball for 4 years. Actually, I played for 6 because I enjoyed it so much, but that's a different story. But it was one of those things where people told me, you can't do that. I didn't trust them. But if I would have, I might have gone a different direction. Why did you decide to trust her?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I attract good people to my life. I really do. I think it's the power of attraction, right? The more one gives to other people, the more one receives. I trusted her judgment. I trusted her belief in me. I trusted that she was looking out for me. So you're right. I don't, there might be situations where I probably wouldn't trust someone else, right? Or they're kind of making me not continue to advance in my career. But when I see someone really invested in something that's better for me, that's where the trust builds. So it's just, I knew that she had this vision for me and that she was looking out for me. So, I think you sense when it's someone holding you back and someone pushing you forward.
Yeah. And, to tag on to that, I think a lot of people, and being in education, you see negative all the time, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a kid, it doesn't matter, parent. And I think people are afraid to trust. But what trust does, just like what you just said, it brings the positive people and the negative into your life and tells you who's the negative people. And then you have the choice to know, oh, that's my people or that's not my people.
Yeah.
Which one are you going to choose? And I love the fact it also creates, of course, clarity would be our next, the other part of what makes you tick. Clarity, I think it also brings clarity into your life. And when it doesn't, it allows you, if you're huge into clarity, what questions do I need to ask to make sure, or how do I understand the message that's being brought to me by asking, okay, how do I clear this up? And I'm one, if you tell me something and I don't understand it, because we speak the same language in English, but from what your level is to what my level is, the understanding there is completely different. So,
yeah. and I want to add to, because I think this is important, Bryan. I was raised in a family culture where, I'm just going to be very frank and honest. My friends, my outings, the birthday parties I was invited to, it was just family. That was my community, my immediate family. And I realized at a very young age, especially being first gen, and I love my family, we were very close, very, very close. But if I just depend on my family, that's as far as I can grow, right? So I needed to explore outside of my family, see people who are 10 steps ahead of me and learn from them and be curious, ask them questions. And then that's how I can have the opportunity to envision something bigger and greater for myself. So I think it's very important for us to continue to network. And, we know that Cup of Joey, we've talked about him so many times,
Yes.
Building a network of people who are there to support one another. It's so key because we need those people who are ahead of us so they can help us lead our own way and us get that clarity that we need.
Right. And it's so funny. I just keep laughing because I was the same way. I was the first one to graduate from my family, from college. Now my sisters followed behind me and we've had other people. We've got, cousins, nephews that have, but I was the first one. And for me, the same thing. Being our birthdays, I did have friends around, but it was family because being in South Louisiana, family is huge. Having big crawfish boils with your family is huge. And it's important. Now, some of them you get to laugh at, but it's huge. And I know when I moved to Houston, I think we were talking about this. There's a lot of different things that have made my impact. And one of the things I want to discuss on every one of my episodes is I made a pact in January of 22 that I would add a book every month or read a book. And I started taking notes on these books. It started me when I was a coach at the Woodlands. We put a lot of emphasis on our team reading a book in the off season, in the fall, and going through it. One of the books that's made a huge impact on my life was the book Mindset. And I always tell people, because what it did was there's certain things that but when you understand that the growth mindset and the fixed mindset and how they're different,
Oh yeah.
As a coach, I had to think of everything as a growth
Yes.
mindset because I'm helping them grow. Although in my own life, a lot of times I realized, oh my gosh, that's a fixed mindset. Understanding that difference was one of those things that helped me get over the hump of understanding what's in front of me. What are my capabilities? What can I really do to separate? Is there a book that you relate to, or you get one book? What book would you tell others? Hey,
Yeah.
read this.
I'm going to share 2 books with you, but before I do that, you said something that we're just going to have to pause here for a second with the growth
Okay,
mindset.
no, go.
Okay, because this is going to be. I know you said that this is going to be very conversational, like, so I
Yes.
want to add this. Growth mindset is so important, and I forewarn anybody who has an interaction with me, because usually they'll tell me something, and I'm already thinking like, who can I connect them with? What can I do for them? Because I want people to continue to have that growth mindset as well. It's so powerful. If we can instill that one little seed in our children, the sky's the limit. I mean, sorry, I had to throw in that plug. Parents, if we can just have that growth mindset in our children, not how you compare yourself to others. How about you compare yourself to your own growth? Who you were yesterday, who you were a month ago, who you were a year ago. So how to do that little plug in.
No. And look, divorce has been a big piece of my life. It's not something that I wanted because family was always my top priority.
Yeah.
But look, my son is 18 and he started his own business about 2 months ago.
Ooh.
And but because of my failures, I'm able to share with him both sides, both the positive and the negative. And it's all because of a growth mindset. You have to be able to take those in as opportunities instead of dents in your body.
Yes, one of my greatest mentors in my life, and I have a handful that still I can count with today. One of them he told me, fail fast. And I was like, what? He says, yes, fail fast. The quicker you fail, the quicker you can stop, and the quicker you can learn from that opportunity. I was like, okay, that was pretty cool. So fail fast.
No, okay, so back to the book.
Okay. But yes, okay, so 2. One of them that was really pivotal in my own journey for my own career, when we talk about purpose, core values, actually a lot of what I teach comes from her, was Ashley Stahl, and that's the U-Turn book with a U at the beginning.
Of course.
Yes, of course. That was a book that transformed my life 3 years ago, which now I can clearly tell you my 4 core values, which are family, education, community, and service. And they have been for the last 3 years since I came across her book and even took one of her classes. I mean, she's great. So that's one. The other one that I'm currently reading, and it's an oldie. I hadn't read it before. Good to Great. Have you read that one before?
I have not. And you notice I'm writing these down because I have one a month and I just opened my next one for this month. So yeah. So
okay,
I'm going to look these. What's that last one called?
Good to Great.
Okay.
That one's more about leadership. So, of course, because we're talking about what makes you tick, leadership has been strong. I'm actually currently in the leadership Pearland. I actually graduate this Thursday. Yay!
Nice.
So that has been an exciting experience. But yes, that book is really good. It's a classic oldie, but it talks about the importance of. Well, there's 2 things. There's one that's called the hedgehog concept, and it's a simple concept that basically it's almost like 3 circles and where they interact, and how businesses and leaders can go from good to great. And that's what you are deeply passionate about is the first one. So again, we go back to passion. Number 2, what you can be the best in the world at, right? So that one thing you're going to be the best in the world at. And then the third one is what best drives your economic or resource engine, right? The profit. So great book. Again, it's really focusing on what you're really good at. What can you excel at and be known for? And then, I work with entrepreneurs at the Pearland Innovation Hub, and I always tell them, you got to really niche down what your service is, what you're going to be known for. So I think that's one of the concepts that's really important. But in leadership, that's what this book talks about. It's having those 3 circles to really go from good to great. So great book, highly recommended. Oh, and there's something else that goes in that book, and it really talks about discipline. That's something that's mentioned a lot in the book, is having discipline, right? He mentioned something about a to-do list. A lot of people have to-do lists. And how about looking at a not to-do list and by that, I mean, what things should you no longer be doing because it's no longer serving you? It's no longer moving that needle. So it's a great book. Still, I'm almost at the end of it, but that's what I'm reading now.
And that's good to great.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. All right. It's on my list. You just sold me on that one. That's my next one. You've got a couple of fans already that have said hello. By the way, Rena says hello. And you're fantastic, a great connector. So love that. I don't think you can see it. Oh, and our boy Joey just chimed in, says love this. So thank you, Joey. Yeah. For those of y'all, if you haven't tuned in, this is the initial podcast today of What Makes You Tick. It's an authentic, relaxing, purposeful conversation around trust, clarity, and traction. Why? It's very simple: to help incorporate your purpose in what you do and impact your life and how you impact others. How are we going to do that? Well, we're doing that now by sharing business and personal stories on building culture of trust, creating a clear, impactful message as a leader with insightfulness on how this can build traction within your life and your business. I mean, if you build it within your life, it's going to happen in your business. I think, gosh, okay, I could go on so many different resets. Our guest today is Sonia. She's amazing. And if you can't tell, she's got a lot of energy, and we've already got that growth mindset going.
Yes.
Look, okay, so we're both into younger generations. I've got all three of my kids are gone now. They're out of the house. One just actually technically just left about 5 minutes ago. He's the one that's running the business. The other two are off somewhere else. And from them, I've learned so much. And if there's, it makes it really difficult. It's almost like if I give somebody advice or a younger person advice, it's in the moment. It has nothing to do with something I would give them all the time, but it's a very consistent message. How about you? Have you come across anything that you would relay to these younger generations besides, hey, get off of TikTok, get off, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to say one directly for the young listeners and then one for the parents. So for the young listeners, be curious, ask questions. I give you the permission slip to ask. One ask, you never know what that one conversation can lead to, what that one connection, what that one person. Get out and meet someone. I've had stories. I could go on and on with stories where, like, I was at a convention event, at an event, and I was with my best friend, and she was with me, and most of the time we were together, and then I went to the restroom, I come back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this lady, and I started talking. She's like, when did you meet this person? I was like, just now when I left the restroom. So I do not lose an opportunity to have a conversation with someone. The kids know it, my kids know it. But I think that's what has allowed me to open doors and opportunities and discover myself, and just be so enlightening for others is by being curious, not being afraid to ask questions, not being afraid to introduce yourself, and being authentic. And then for the parents, oh man, this is a good one. Okay, are you ready for this one? So
I'm ready.
For parents, best advice is find mentors for your children. They will not listen to you. I need mentors for my own children, even though I'm a career coach, even though I've worked with high school students and I've been in education, they don't listen to me. They listen to the people I surround them with. So I make sure I pair my own kids with great mentors, role models. I let them hang out. I let them spend some time together, especially with family who they look up to and that I know that are good role models. I let them spend that time together so they can help encourage our children. So find the mentors, bring them to a cup of Joey, and have them interact with other adults. So again, there's a lot of opportunities. I think we all need someone in our life, and so the earlier we do that with our children, especially when they're still right in the phones and screens and everything, the more we connect them with real human beings, the more opportunities they can get from that.
No, and the funny thing is, my kids, like I said, are graduated and older, and I wish I would have done a little bit better job of doing exactly what you said at a younger age, having those around them that were more mentors. But I will tell you this, What's funny is there were a lot of things back in the past where people that were behind the scenes, because I was gone coaching, doing whatever, were saying certain things that were negative to my kids. There were certain things that I would tell them and they didn't connect with and didn't get. But fast forward 8 years later, they could almost repeat, one, what they said and go, they were lying. Two, so they are able to recognize, but two, they now know the truth that I was saying and who I am, the actions that I had behind it.
Absolutely.
Even though they didn't see it in the moment. So I'm not arguing with you. I'm arguing for you. Have those people in their lives. Yes, but absolutely be truthful, be open, and be honest, be transparent with your kids. No matter what their reaction is in the moment, you have to have faith and you have to believe and trust. There's that word trust again. Trust in them that message will become clear, and you will gain the traction when they're older. And it makes a huge impact, because all it takes is maybe one time, and then 5 years down the road, they'll remember. 10 years down the road, they'll remember.
Absolutely. And you know what? And yes, you are 100% correct. And I'm not saying not to give advice to your children. Absolutely do so. But in the moment, you might think they're not listening. But when you pair them up with other mentors that are repeating the same thing you're saying, that are being an echo, they'll come home and they'll be like, oh, guess what Mr. So-and-so said? Really? That's kind of what I've been telling you, but that's fine. And you know, and I noticed that happened last week. Last week, I had a very pivotal moment in my life, and that was very exciting. And I remember my daughter was like, you got this, Mom, you got this. Like, you know, this is for, you know, like she was just so encouraging. And again, it's the same words I'm telling her all the time. And she put it into practice, like, okay, she's listening.
No, that's so, you know, it's funny because this year I went back to education, and I got to coach with one of my good friends. And the funny thing is, after 7 years out, I looked at the kids completely different, not in a bad way, but it was me of how I approached them. Instead of me being the adult and them being the kid, it was me being a mentor. And when something went wrong, you know what I did, especially with my softball girls? I danced with them. That's it. Where instead of yelling at them, I dance with them. And the perspective of what kids can do when you trust them and when you open up to them and you give them a shot, the things that they can do to inspire you is even more impactful. And most people miss that piece.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, back to what I had mentioned about giving the permission slip for our children to be curious. Oh man, that question that we get our own kids are like, why? But why? I get it. I've been there. I'm a parent, but let's give them that permission slip. I know it's hard, but you know, that curiosity, we cannot block that. I mean, that's where innovation happens. That's where, you know, sometimes even entrepreneurship, growth, everything happens from just a question of why and being curious.
Yeah. Hey, okay. So speaking of that, have you ever had a time where you trusted somebody and something negative happened? That you can think of?
Yeah. I can't think of any right now. Oh man, I'm gonna have to get back with you on that one. Trusted someone, not negatively that I can think of right now. But that's probably because I knew, remember back to the original conversation, right? It's like the person I would trust, I would know who I was trusting. So I think that's why I've been a little bit more better at not necessarily falling for the trap of trusting someone who just didn't seem right. I'm a really big girl about feelings, like how people make me feel. And that's where trust kind of happens with me sometimes. I know that's kind of cliche, but I really do believe in it. I do believe in the power of feeling. And when someone or something doesn't feel right, then that's usually a way for me to know, like, no, don't listen.
No, and it's a great way. No, it's funny because I'm more of the mindset of, look, I'm going to trust you, because I want to know what you're going to do. If you do something to wrong me or go against me because you break my trust, that's on you. It's not on me. I would rather trust somebody and them mess up or do something wrong or take advantage of me than me not trust somebody and miss out. because then I might be missing out on larger things in our life. It's like we talk about in our connections at Cup of Joey and stuff. It's not about, when you connect on why, it's more about the connection than it is what can you do for me on the business side.
Oh, yeah.
On a personal side, it's the same way. So you can look at businesses, restaurant business all the time. My job, I love prospecting. I love going into new businesses and having a conversation to meet new people. And constantly, yeah, we'll absolutely come back. Once you give me a price list, all things that they would lead you on and tell you, yes, they will. You bring them a price list, and all they would do is turn around and use that with their competitor and go, hey, here's what I'm getting from Gordon's, and let me just take that and get a better deal. Instead of actually doing, all that does is tell me who you are. It doesn't do anything else but tell me who you are, and you're not my person.
Yeah. And one thing that we talked about earlier before we came on live is character. And I think I make a lot of my judgment calls on trust based on someone's character. So I observe, I watch, I interact, I ask questions. And it's not by the title of someone, it's by their character, their demeanor, by the way they are, the way they respond. If they promise something, right? If they say they're going to do something, what's their turnaround to do that? So I think that plays a pivotal role is someone's character and how they respond to you, how they make you feel. The other thing, when you mentioned earlier, Bryan, about you yourself as well when you're out in the community, people, especially for entrepreneurs, people buy from you because they know, like, and trust you. And I say this all the time. I actually get people quoting me. I was like, well, actually, I didn't come up with that. But they do. People buy from people they know, they like, and they trust. And that's by the interactions they see, not just in person, but on social. You'll see the same Sonia everywhere. And, that's just who I am, whether I'm wearing the educator hat, the entrepreneur, the coach. I mean, the navigator, like, you always see the same energy, the same person, the same character behind me. And so I think that's where the trust starts developing.
Yeah. I think as educators, initially, we are trained to be that way. I think other educators, unfortunately, lose that trust as they grow, but you have to have it. And being in the classroom, you have to be clear in the message you're presenting, or you lose them. There's no buy-in there.
Oh my goodness, yes. My first job after becoming a pharmacy trainer in education was a high school teacher. I was in my 20s. Like, I look like a kid myself, because I've always tend to look a little younger. I don't know if I do still now, but back then I looked younger than what I was. And I had to develop that trust because guess what? I had a class sometimes of 30, 33. I think it was my biggest class, taught biology. I had to build that trust, that leadership skills, really like on day one, because the minute you lose them, and I would tell this to other educators that would help lead them, you lose them on the first day, man, it's going to be so hard to regain that confidence. And you can't waver on the rules, right? If you're going to do something for someone, you can do that across the board, because then that, again, trust, right? Oh, well, if she did this for this one student, then she can do for me. If she, if I had a 98.3 and she, put it to 99, even though that's something positive, you're losing that trust that you're going to stay by your word. So again, I think it's, I think that's what helped us at such a young age, when we were educators, is to really build that trust and that leadership skills right off the back on day one when we were in the classroom.
You have to. There's no doubt. Look, just kind of a quick reset here. There's a lot of y'all out there listening to the initial podcast. If you're listening, this is called What Makes You Tick. We're with Sonia Cacique. Gosh, I keep wanting to put that in there. And we're having if you can't tell, an authentic, purposeful conversation, really centered around trust, traction, and clarity. If you have any questions, we've got about another 15, 20, we'll go another 15, 20 minutes if we need to. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I will put them up there. We'll discuss them. I would love your engagement, any chat for the next 10 minutes or so. Sonia, do you have any, first of all, a couple of the commenters say that, yes, you and I agree with them. You still look like a kid.
Oh. Thank you. I don't know if I believe that, but I'll take it for today.
Yes. Any takeaways so far? Anything you want to add before we keep going?
Yeah, no, I think, the important thing is that, especially since we're talking about, young people as well, leadership, you can start developing those skills early on. I mean, even when you're in high school, just taking initiatives and really taking lead roles, I think that's very important. And then also, leadership is not an end destination. It's a journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's a journey. And, just like faith and so many other amazing things in our life, it's a journey. So there's never an end point. Just continue to grow and ask questions, and you will still find people that are 10 steps ahead of you, and make sure you tap into them because they are a great opportunity for us to continue growing.
Love that. Absolutely. It's so all of this, everything we're doing here is to make an impact. The one thing I want to do, and we talked about this, is I want to do the E's. I want to make sure this show is engaging, impactful, and entertaining. And one of the things that, for me, like, you can look back on your life and there's a moment in your life where you don't know if it's impactful or not. And I remember one of the most, I've got tons of them. One where I just went to a movie theater, one of my friends said, hey, you got a day off, let's go be an extra in a movie. And I ended up getting a speaking role in the movie, which is just, you never know when it's going to make an impact. One of the days, one of the guys came in. I was living in Baton Rouge with a roommate, and one of his friends came in. I knew him. He said, hey, one of y'all want to move to Houston? I went, no, heck no, I'm good. He came in a week later and made a deal. And I was like, you know what? What do I have to lose? Moved here in 1997 and haven't left. Those are things in your life that make an impact no matter what you're looking at. Is there anything that you can, one moment, I know that's tough because I just pulled out two, but there's tons of them. But is there one moment that somebody or something or some moment made an impact in your life that kind of changed your direction, whether it's looking back or you knew it at the moment?
Oh, man, there's so many, honestly, Bryan, because again, I tell you, and I truly believe we are made of seasons of our life. We're made of mini chapters, right? But the one that I can share right now, just because it's been so pivotal, even in my career right now today, was 3 years ago when I had this idea of starting a podcast. And, for those of you who don't know, so I had a podcast. It's still there, obviously. But 3 years ago, I had this idea of having a podcast. I was a podcast listener. Listened to 2 shows mainly, and I was like one of those fans. And one of them, the Empower Her, which I still listen to today, with Keisha Get Married, she was offering a podcast, launch your podcast in like 4 weeks or something like that. And I took that opportunity, and I was like, okay, well, let's give it a try. And that was a very pivotal moment. I'll tell you why. Keisha Get Married is completely opposite of me. And so remember when I tell you need to have people ahead of you, right? 10 steps ahead of you. Even though she was 10 steps, maybe even 100 steps ahead of me, she was also different from me. And I've always been attracted to people who are different from me, because I think if I keep hanging around people who are just like me, well, I can only grow so much too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a growth mindset girl, as you can tell.
Why would I want to like me? I had somebody once say that. Why would I want to like me? I don't want to hang around me all the time. Geez, I'm here all the time. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
And so I took her course, and literally, like, within 4 weeks, I launched the podcast. You can go back and listen to first episodes so you could get your vibe as far as what it was. It's back then called Mom's Podcast. But she gave me that permission slip, and she was also one who would. So I'm very A-type. Back then, before that pivotal moment, I would be, how should I put this? I would be the one that would not take the next step unless all the check boxes were checked, unless everything was perfect. And what happened was I limited myself to so many opportunities in my life because I didn't think I was ready yet. And she's opposite. She was the one who's like, you got it, think about it, run with it. What's the worst that can happen? You fix it, you modify it, you edit it. And actually, for it to be the first episode, I think it was pretty good. And ever since then, I continue to, do episode after episode. I have 100 episodes that I did with that, and it was through her mindset of like, don't wait until it's perfectly done, or you're never gonna do it. And so that was one pivotal moment. And then thanks to her, I got the opportunity to meet, like I told you, Ashley Saul, get to know who she was. I even went to an event where I got to meet her in person. So, it was that one moment, that one permission slip that someone told me to dream bigger than I can achieve greater. That was a pivotal moment in my life. And that's what I've been able to do for others. I've continued to do that for myself, where I'm not waiting until all the check boxes are checked. If I have enough where I can build that confidence on my own, I'm like, why not? Let's go ahead. Let's give it a run. And thankfully, I've learned from every opportunity, and that continued to grow. So don't wait, because if you wait, it might pass you up.
No lie. And look, one of my big things, so I've got a couple of articles I've been writing, one a day on LinkedIn and posting them. There's two things that you brought up in there. One of them, I'm not going to tell you, but it's coming out Friday. And it's about a gentleman. You and I talked about it, so don't tell anybody. There's a gentleman that made a big impact, and he didn't have to. He met with me, and he was a big time guy at the time and still is. He made a huge impact on me just because he met with me. It doesn't necessarily, I don't remember anything that he necessarily said, but I just remember the impact that was there. And it's funny how we miss the word you said earlier, yet. If I wait until everything gets done, then that may never happen. Yes. But at the same time, just because something doesn't happen, and I've been focused on a lot on really understanding what failure is. And I realize how much I hate the word chaos and failure. I like the opportunity word instead of failure, because all it does is create an opportunity if you let it. Absolutely. And one of the things that we need to put in our vocabulary, when you said the word yet, I went, I haven't accomplished that yet. Well, okay, then start going towards it. And that's exactly what you just said with your podcast and going forward. Amazing.
Yeah. Yep. And I want to add to, because I feel that sentence a lot with the people I work with. When they tell me something, I'll be like, yeah, I'll add it to their sentence. But one thing that has been truly amazing and a blessing, I hear a lot more people telling me how I transformed the life through one conversation, one interaction, one moment in life that sometimes, honestly, I don't even remember that one moment. And be like, I just had someone last week at our Morning Brew Connections that said, that one moment I met with you, that you sat down and had a conversation with me, it completely transformed my life. And, again, it's so humbling and so amazing. So even though I have transformations in my life, I am blessed with so many more that I feel I gift others with. And that just makes my life. I mean, I want to see the transformation myself too, obviously. But when I hear that I'm making an impact in someone else's life, man, like everything else is like easy. I mean, I just think that's so powerful to be able to impact others in so many ways. And it's just sometimes through a conversation.
No, and it's what's funny is I've not always been a positive energy guy. Over the last 3, 4 years, 5 years, I've grown to that personality, and I've accepted it, and I really welcome that in. But going back to teaching, the one thing that kind of crystallized it was I may be the only positive energy that person sees in a day. So why would I want to bring negative energy into them, even if they're trying to throw it back at me? So just whenever you meet with people or in front of people, or you have an opportunity to talk to somebody, just be that positive energy within their life, because you might be the only one they see in that day. You never know what's going on in their mind, what's going on in their background. You never know what's going on before they got to you and after they leave you. Yes. So be that positive energy, which brings me to, we're getting close to the close, but I do want to ask you, if you were to give anybody one piece of advice, because I just gave mine, to help them chase their dream, what would it be?
Oh man, I said this earlier. It's be curious. Be curious, ask questions. Do not hesitate. I have connected with people on LinkedIn through direct messages. I've had people connect with me. I have one student that connected with me from Canada. through a LinkedIn message. He heard a podcast episode of mine and he sent me a DM, and I connected him to this girl I know that works with the Seattle Mariners. I connected them and they had an info session for a whole hour. Again, just ask. It was through that one ask that I was able to connect them to someone else. So that's what I would say. Do not be hesitant. There's so many people. There's so many amazing, especially here in Houston. I mean, I'm going to shout out to Houston. Here in Houston and in Pearland, I feel like we have a community that is ready to give back, right? That's ready to serve and is ready to help, especially our younger youth. So even if you are in your 30s or 40s or 50s, just ask. It just adds one question, one curiosity that can really transform your life.
Gosh, it's so and it doesn't matter what the age. Like sometimes
No.
I still need to hear that.
Yes.
Just ask. What's the worst thing they're going to say?
Yeah.
No. That's it. Just ask, because you never know where that one ask may take you. Look, I appreciate everything that we've done. We've still got a couple minutes. If there's anybody out there that has any questions they'd like to ask, please put it in the chat. Again, hopefully I can figure out where it is, because this is the first time I've operated this system. But you know, and every time we have this conversation, I just have this urge to go, welcome to What Makes You Tick. You know what I mean? Like that radio voice, and
I love it.
The energy is so crazy.
I love it. I love it. You know, and you know what, Bryan, going back to that one thing that I said, you and I connected from that first conversation.
Yeah.
You know, and so everybody could be one conversation away from changing the trajectory of their life. One conversation. So, you know, it just, we connected with each other. We vibe with each other. Been friends ever since. Him and I will message each other via text, and you know, just there's so many amazing people. So,
and I need to do it.
And you're doing great, by the way. This is your first show. I wouldn't even know. You're doing great.
Thank you. That's because I'm such an entertaining person here. No, look, it's so true. You never know. And going back to be curious. If you're afraid to meet somebody, just get over that fear. Just get into your be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Who in the end, who really cares? Because if you don't connect with that person, you're going to walk away and they're going to forget who you were anyway. So why worry about it? There's so many things that we do that we overthink. Granted, I'm one of them. That's why I'm bringing it up, or used to be really bad at it. But it allows us to grow when you just step into your own comfort zone. Hey, Regina asked, let's see, can Sonia give advice to the new professional that may be listening on how one goes about asking someone to be their mentor?
Oh, great question. So I would start off with an info session and say, hey, do you have 15 minutes? I just want to ask you about your career, about your profession. 15 minutes, I think it's a short enough time, not a big commitment, and it's just a start. So I would say request for an info session, like, hey, can I just, have 15 minutes of your time, whether it's a Zoom meeting, a phone call, and, I just want to learn more about what you do because I really admire you, or I see how, active you are in your role, or, whatever connecting piece you find. And just ask to meet with them for 15 minutes. I've had a lot of people ask me just, to meet for 15 minutes. So yeah.
No, love that.
Or you can also, I'll add another one.
Ahead.
Of course, to my young people, only people who but you can always say, can we meet up for coffee, right? That's another great way if you want to make it a little bit more personal and the person a little more. But yeah, it's something very simple, casual, and just having a conversation. The mentors that I have had in my experience have just naturally developed into it, into the role, because I ask questions and we'll interact and maybe we connect, and there's something that sparks their interest in learning more about me learning about them, and then just the interaction, the conversation kind of continues. So I never really asked anybody like, hey, can you be my mentor? It's something that just grew over time, and it started with one conversation. The
organic growth, there is no better. There is no better.
Great question, Regina.
Yes. So while we're already, 5 minutes over, almost 5 minutes over, I'm not going to rush. because I can stay here for another 10 minutes if I really want to. But what I would like to do is, do you mind if I share in the link your LinkedIn?
Oh, please do. That's my favorite place. So connect with me on LinkedIn for sure.
Absolutely. So I just shared Sonia's LinkedIn profile if you'd like to connect. If you have any more questions, we've got a couple more minutes, please shoot them in. Sonia, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience on how they can reach you, areas they might reach out to you, that your growth area that you would like to help them grow?
Yeah, absolutely. So, definitely on LinkedIn, you can DM me, connect with me. You can go to my website. It's collegecareerready.org. And even though there's college in the word, it's really for young people, women, especially professional women, leaders. So you can go to that website. And I also serve entrepreneurs through the Pearland Innovation Hub. So that is a great place also for you to connect with me. So it's pearlandinnovationhub.com. So yeah, those are the main places where I'm at. And you can always send me an email, old school email, info@collegecareerready.org.
Good. Awesome. If you have any curiosity, go find her. Anything that you need to do, go find her, because she's a great person to help you direct, which honestly, I wish you and I need to talk more, because I could use some direction right now. Look, Sonia, thank you for being my inaugural guest on What Makes You Tick. And I'm glad you figured out it's what makes you tick and not what makes you TikTok, although I may be able to put that in play at some point. Look, let's make an impact on our lives, on our community, through trust, traction, and clarity. The one thing I always that stuck with me is be transitional over transactional. Anything that you can do to make a transition in anybody's lives. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we close?
Yeah, discover yourself. No pun intended with discover you, but discover yourself with the you. Ask yourself questions. When you interact with someone, remember we talked earlier about character and trust, write that down, journal it, talk to yourself more, ask questions. How did this feel? What do I believe? Question yourself. That will help you discover more about yourself. When you find opportunities where you're like, man, time just flew, write that down. What is it that really made that time fly by? What skills were you using? What abilities were you doing? What, was it an industry that you were involved in? Those questions are the questions that we were never asked as young people, as students, and that you can start asking yourself to really make a turn in your life, in your career, in your leadership, in your development, is really asking yourself more questions. And I'm a huge believer on journaling. By the way, I did not buy the journal with dates. Let me tell you why. If you buy a journal with dates and then A-type personality, if you miss some, you're like, I didn't finish, or I don't even have time to do this. So just get yourself a notebook, a spiral notebook, and jot down. Oh, there you go. See, there you go. Just a simple notebook, and start journaling down. These experiences are pivotal in your career, in your leadership, in your personal life. So start writing how that feels, how you take something, your perspective in things, and it will help you develop your own personality and your own career development.
No, that's great advice. And you can always do that on your phone with all the AI we have.
Yes.
Google Docs. Google is so easy. You can
Keep.
Yeah. So when I run, I have two things open. I have my book open, and I have my Google Doc open that's got all the books in it. I can speak as I run, even though I'm out of breath. Sometimes I'll stop and walk, but I can speak into it, and it gets the idea down, although sometimes it doesn't understand. So I have to go back and I laugh. What was I saying there?
Yeah.
But it's a great way to journal. Look, Sonia, I've kept you so long. I appreciate everything. You can find her on LinkedIn. My name's Bryan Hill. You can find me on LinkedIn. Please stay connected. If you want to share with a friend, send me a message. I'd love to hear any advice, any feedback for both of us. If you want to connect with her, find me on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect you. Sonia, it's been amazing.
Oh.
As we expected.
Thank you so much, Bryan. And to everyone who stayed till the end, thank you very much for listening in. Connect with Bryan and I. We're always here, just one click away from connecting with you.
Please find me. Please find my friend. Connect with us. Anything that you need to do, you're awesome. Oh. Thanks, everyone. Show one down.
Bye.
Bye.